So in this video, I'll be creating a balanced and professional mix for a multi-track recording, which was a live recording for a band. So let's open a new project in Reaper. Minimize and then I'll export the stems. So here are the stems. Then I'll let's drag and drop on Reaper. Okay, so the stems are 16 channels. So let's listen to it before we start mixing. Okay, so that was the live recording. The first observation I observed from the song is the voices were a bit low and then the instruments were louder. So in the next video, I'll be showing you how I mixed the whole project, starting from the first track until to the last track. Okay, welcome back to my video. So this is my Mate song mix. This is a project I mixed. So I'll be explaining how I used different types of equalizers and other stuffs in the song. So let's play it and listen to how it sounds like after mixing it. Okay, so that's our song. The first thing the first thing to be doing is trying to balance the volumes of the instruments so that the mix should not have a clipping sounds. So I'll be balancing volumes to avoid channels to be clipping. Okay, so the first track I'll be explaining on how I worked on it is snare. So I'll start with the snare bottom. So for the snare bottom, I used three plugins. First one is the Pro Q. equalizer, and then the rear gate, and then also the rear EQ. So the main goal why I use the Pro Q is I boosted just to boost the snare bottom around 50 heads, and then I boosted around at plus minus close to minus 9 decibels. Yeah, and then I used this to get a certain tone of the snare that I really wanted. Not really to sounding too low or too high, but on the middle range of the frequency spectrum, which is at 500 to like 600 heads. And then for the gate, I use the gate to silence the audio signals when it dropped below a certain threshold. Yeah. Uh, and then the other thing why I use the gate is that I used it to reduce bleed, because um, other parts of the drum set, the microphones, so the microphone on the bottom of the snare was picking different sounds from sound sources of other microphones, so I used it to reduce bleed. Yeah. And also for the rear EQ, the overall EQ shape is used. I used it for a more precise tonal shape, yeah, of the snare track. So I used it to balance the mid, low, the lows, the mids, and the highs. So I used uh, 3 bands, which is band 2, band 3, and band 4. I had 3 bands I used. So let's hear the before and after of the snare. So I'll mute these, I'll remove them, then I'll solo it, that we play it. So this is the original sound of the snare before I equalized everything. Okay, so let's put back our equalizers and then let's play. Okay, so now that's how I equalize my snare bottom. I did the same, a bit similar to the snare top. The Pro Q, I used the gate also, and then the rear EQ also. I did the same for the snare top and the snare bottom. So I avoided to increase the threshold of the gates for the snare bottom and the snare top, because if I use too much, I would sound like. Okay. Okay, so the next track I'll go to is the voice, the vocal. Let's listen to it. Mate! Okay, this is the backing vocalist track. So what I used in this track is I used the Pro Q, yeah, to boost so I boosted at 1K to get a certain tone I wanted, I preferred, because it was sounding a bit, the voice had a lot of low ends, so I thought of shaping it up to 1K. Yeah. So I added chorus effect because the voice was low and then it was dry, so I added the chorus effect that it should sound heavy, and then I also added reverb to the vocal just to give the, 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 the vocal some color. Yeah. Okay, voice number 2, which is the lead vocalist. Let's listen to it. So for the voices, I did not want to use a gate. Reason being is because if I used a gate, I would have killed everything important for the song. Yeah. So I didn't use a gate in the voices. I used the Pro Q again for tone shaping of the vocal, and I also used reverb to give the voice a color because the vocals were sounding a little bit dry. So I used reverb for the both vocals to have the presence as well. So let's listen to how the vocals are sounding like. And before I mixed the project, the vocals the volumes for the vocalists for the singers were a bit low, and then the instruments were very high than the vocals. So in my mix, I balanced the volumes, reducing the faders for all the instruments, and then I increased volumes for the vocalists.
naenda ine kwasu koma mtima sunakondwe amunanga amunanga banja lanu la chipongwe naenda ine kwasu koma mtima sunakondwe amunanga amunanga banja lanu la chipongwe.
Okay. We'll go to the bass guitar. So for the bass guitar, I used a rear EQ and the Pro EQ. So for the rear EQ, it was I used a low shelf to cut frequencies below 550 hertz. Yeah, because the bass was sounding a bit muddy, so I just had to cut the lower frequencies at 50 hertz. And then for the Pro EQ, I just boosted a bit. The first boost was at 20 hertz. I boosted again at 50. I also boosted at about 95 hertz, just to give the bass guitar some good shape tones. So let's play how it feels. So I'll mute the plugins I used so that we play back the bass and see how it felt before I mixed it. It wasn't sounding too live in the song. It was a bit muddy. Yeah. So that's how I equalized my bass guitar. Then we'll move on to the lead guitar. For the lead guitar, I didn't do much. I only used rear EQ and the Pro EQ. So for the rear EQ, I boosted the guitar for a lighter tone at this is around 3.5K. Yeah, I boosted it. Then also boosting it at giving it a low boost at 100 hertz, and also at 300 hertz I boosted again at 1047 hertz, and also at 7K. So for the lead guitar, I didn't do much because the lead guitar was just perfect in my ears. I didn't add any effects on the lead guitar because I think the lead guitar player had already effects when playing the song. And for my hi-hat, For my hi-hats, both of my hi-hats, I used an EQ. I did a low show. I used a high shelf. Yeah. I cut off the higher frequencies from 20 kilohertz to about 2Ks. Yeah, because it was sounding a little bit too bright, so I didn't want that. Yeah, then I also used a low cut. I had low cut, so I didn't boost any frequency here. So yeah, I also used a gate because of bleed. I did the same on the bottom hi-hat. Yeah, so let's play both hi-hats. I did not use too much gate because I'd have cut everything. It should make a sound just weird. For the keys, the piano, I only used um, the rear EQ. I also used the low shelf to cut off lower frequencies at 40 hertz going below. Yeah, because if I did not cut some frequencies, the keys would be clashing with the bass guitar. So I added a bit of some varieties. So I boosted a bit. I added a band, then I boosted a bit at 124 hertz, and I also boosted the keys at 3000 kilohertz. Yeah, just to give it a tone color. And I'll now move to my kick in. Yeah, so this project also had two mics for the kick. So there's a kick in and the kick out. And also the hi-hat had two mics. No, the hi-hat had one mic. Yeah, so we'll go direct on the kick. So my kick in, for my kick in, I used, I'll start with the Pro Q. Pro Q. So I only boosted at 50, I boosted my kick at 57 hits for a much bassy sound. Yeah, I also used a gate for bleed to cut off unnecessary noise. I used the gate, to cut off noise that I didn't want. I also used a compressor on my kick drum to control dynamic range and to make it more consistent and punchy. Yeah. Also used an equalizer. I used the high shelf to cut off all the highs in my kick in. So let's play it here how it sounds like. I'll solo it. So Oasis, I wanted my kick in to be much more punchy. Okay, and then for my kick out, I also used the VIQ, similar to my kick in. I used the high shelf to cut all the high frequencies. I also used the compressor to give the same shape as my kick in. For the Pro EQ, I boosted my kick out. I wanted it not to sound too bassy, but my kick out to have a certain high frequency range at 900 heads. Yeah, that's for my two kicks. So let me play them together. At first, kicks, before I mixed the whole project, the kicks were sounding too light. It's like they didn't have enough low ends. Yeah, so that's for my kick. And then we'll start with the high tone. For the high tones, I used Area EQ. So I added a band to gain a certain level of frequencies together, but I mostly boosted at 105 heads just to get a certain tone at that frequency range. And also I created a third band. I reduced the band at 50 heads. Yeah, I also added a high shelf just to cut some highs on the high tone. I also used a gate because of bleed and Pro EQ. we solo it. Let's say hi. Yeah, the whole purpose of my high tone is to give it a bit of on a balanced level of frequencies. I didn't want it to sound too high or too low. And then for the low tone, I just boosted at 63 Hz, giving it a low feel for the tone, and then so they get to cut off bleed and then unwanted noise that I did not want. Yeah. Yeah, there it goes. And then for my mid-tone, I did the same also. I did the same. I had the high shelf. I didn't want the mid-tone to sound too heavy, too low, or too high. So I wanted it to have a balanced peak. So I did a band. Then my band was, the first one was at 71 Hz. The second band was at 306 Hz. And then we had two overheads. So for the overheads, I used a high pass filter to cut the lows from 550 Hz to 100 Hz. And then I boosted a band at 1K Hz, and also boosted the band from 10,000 kilohertz to 20,000 kilohertz. And then I panned my left overheads to the left, and also right overhead to my right. So let's play the two overheads and hear how they sound like. I did not add any gate on the overheads. I did not want to kill the original presence of the whole performance. So this was the natural sound of the whole band playing. The overheads. So the overheads capture a wide stereo image for the whole performance. So we'll go back to the first track we equalized, which is the snare bottom. I panned it left. I also panned my snare top left. The reason why I'm panning these tracks is because it's to give space to every instrument, so that it should not only be head on the center, but it should be both side balanced, giving each other space. Yeah, I did not pan the voices on the center. I panned my bass guitar to the left at 30. I also panned the lead guitar at 30. I panned the hi-hat a bit left. And then for the high tom, I panned it left. The kick is just on the center. Both kicks were on the center. And then for the low tom, I panned it right. And the mid tom also I panned it right. Yeah, that's it for our tracks. This is how I mixed the tracks. So the next video I'll be showing how I'll be balancing the volumes of the whole tracks to avoid clipping. So I'll be balancing the volumes of the whole tracks to avoid the whole song to be clipping. So I'll play it and then I'll be observing the whole tracks, be balancing the volumes. Let's play it. But first and foremost, I'll make sure that the main part of the performance, which is the singers, that their volumes are audible enough, and then the instruments are just playing back softly.
Bantalanula chipongwe. Amuna Bantalanula chipongwe. Bantalanula chipongwe. Bantalanula chipongwe. Bantalanula chipongwe. Bantalanula chipongwe. Amunanga mateka yanga tinzakwatira. Amunanga koti nine mkazi wa chitatu. Amunanga mate chikwatini antu awiri. Bantalanula chipongwe. Amunanga mateka yanga tinzakwatira. Amunanga koti nine mkazi wa chitatu. Amunanga mate chikwatini antu awiri. Amunanga mate. Amunanga akazini chimozimozi. Amunanga mateka yanga tinzakwatira. Amunanga koti nine mkazi wa chitatu. Amunanga mate chikwatini antu awiri. Amunanga mate. Amunanga akazini chimozimozi. Mate naendaine, mate naendaine kwasu, naendaine kwasu koma mtima sunakondwe. Amunanga mate, amunanga Bantalanula chipongwe. Mate naendaine, mate naendaine kwasu, naendaine kwasu koma mtima sunakondwe. Amunanga mate, amunanga Bantalanula chipongwe.
So this was my mix. I was doing this mixing in parts. So I would go the whole week just paying attention to the whole project and then analyzing all the problems, then finding solutions. So I was doing this video, this mixing in parts. So in the next clip, I'll be addressing some of the issues or problems that I feel the project had. And before I mixed this project, I noticed some problems, and one of the problems that were there in this project is pitch and intonation errors, because the singers in the recording were hitting wrong notes at some point. They were singing off keys at some point, yeah. So slight intonation movement away from the correct pitch over the duration of sustained notes. So pitch, the getting out, and then find back the key, and also timing errors. Do not hit exactly the timing. Yeah. And also, equipment had noise. The instruments had noise, like the bass guitar, the first. Yeah, I don't know if it was poor keyboard management or the instruments self noise, but the bass guitar had noise, so I had to cut lower frequencies to get rid of the noise. Yeah, and also dynamic flatness. When the performance lacks sufficient variety between loud and soft. Yeah, so the performance was just straight. It wasn't coming down or going higher. It was just straight. It did not have dynamics, the loudness and softness. Yeah, and then poor phrasing and articulation. Okay, so and other balanced problems that existed in this recording that I took note of was also frequency masking. So for the bass guitar, so the bass guitar would like hit the same frequencies with a kick drum. Yeah, so it would hit the same frequency range with a kick drum. So it occupied the same frequency range, causing the mix to sound muddy. So that's how I used EQs for the kick drums, just to cut some low ends and then to boost frequencies, just to give space to the both low end instruments. Yeah. And so also we had I took note of tonal imbalance. Yeah, the overall frequency response was skewed. Yeah, and also phase cancellations. The drum mics recorded the same source at different distances, causing their waveforms to be out of sync. Yeah, then poor panning. The project, the mix was not panned, so yeah, and bleed, obviously. Like the drum mics would pick up sounds from different mics. Then other extraneous issues that detracted the recording was electrical interference, yeah, which was harm caused by poor grounding of faulty cables. And then sibilance, the X's is for T's sounds, resulting in a sharp and high frequencies, mostly for the singers when singing. Sibilance was there. And also handling noise, the sound of performance talking in the background. Yeah. Yes, so that's it for my mix.